With embers still emanating around him, Jose is glad to see that our main character and Kuro were alright. Han Li and Kuro notice that Jose's leg is bandaged up from a previous injury and ask what happened. Barely able to put weight on his leg, Jose mentions that there was a booby trap set on the other side of the island, and got him flush. Finally able to take a breather, Jose drops to his but rest as our main character tells Jose about the trap they ran into earlier as well. Putting two and two together, they deduce that both traps were probably set up by the same group. In a cocky manner, Jose, tooting his own horn, mentions that there is nothing anyone can take from him as he decided to consume everything he had once he was injured from the trap. Han Li is flabbergasted as he suspects that Jose was dropped as a baby. Meanwhile, several meters away on the island is the leader of the looters, Carl. Restless as he stares into the sky and flashing back to life right before Ark, which seems rather lush, his father makes him aware that he has psychic abilities and that it presents the amazing opportunity to enlist into Ark. Carl, taken back from the statement, reminds his father that he is a child star actor. Before Carl could get another word in, his father, with a manic look on his face, grabs him in place and tells him that all the money and notoriety that would come from becoming a psyker and saving the world would be 100 times more than you would get from acting. Win the war and come back as a god. On a different part of the island, with beads of sweat hitting the ground, we find Dimitri going all in with one-arm push-ups. Interrupted by the sound of Dell's Simon munching on a meal bar, Dell points out nonchalantly that their supplies are running low pretty quick. Dimitri scoffs at the statement as he states, "I only care about training and becoming the strongest striker." Dell, seemingly annoyed, points out that the real training is in the psychic abilities, like who cares about the combat. Dimitri, seeing that he has gotten under Dell's skin, says to himself out loud that he wished Han Li was around, considering he is the only real competition here. Manifesting his power in anger, Dell shows his jealousy towards Han Li. Dimitri's plan on getting Dell to fight him for real is starting to work. Back at the campsite, our main character, Kuro and Jose, sit around the fire and discuss their game plan for survival. Han Li suggests that he and Kuro will head out for resources and for Jose to hold down the fort considering his injured leg. It then hits Han Li that considering Jose has the psychic ability of ignition, that they will now be able to cook. "So let's fish!" As our main character and Kuro look into a body of water and the fish swimming around, Kuro wonders out loud, how exactly are we going to catch any fish? Instead of answering Kuro's question, Han Li takes this opportunity to thank Kuro for rescuing him the night before when he was fighting Carl. Han Li also apologizes for always fighting Kuro's battles, as it was clear it was hindering his needed experience to grow. Our main character then tells Kuro that he is actually really powerful and gifted. "With my fighting IQ and your psychic ability, we can work together and get through this island training." From one friend to another. Touched by Han Li's statement, Kuro flashes back to his childhood as an orphan. Nameless in Japan, he was named Kuro because of his darker skin. Shouts of insults and shaming is all he ever knew. Now, present day, he won't fail his first and only friend, as his display of power amazes our main character. Han Li instructs Kuro to look into the water and use his short-term foresight to know where the fish will be. As Kuro complies, he sees the silhouette of the fish appear and states he knows the future cadence of the fish. Han Li, taking into consideration that Kuro was also able to learn telekinesis only hours after arriving at Ark, instructs Kuro to now use the foresight and telekinesis together to levitate the fish out of the water. Kuro makes his move in success. A solid haul for their first hunt. As the two make their way back to the campsite, Han Li expresses how impressed he is with Kuro, and how it looks like food won't be an issue for the rest of their time there. As they both chat about how blown away Jose is going to be once he sees all the fish they caught, they feel an instant increase in temperature. Han Li figures it has to be Jose and tells Kuro to stay put as he rushes down to their site. Han Li, rushing in and drenched in sweat, looks in to see Jose beaten up and the site completely trashed. Meanwhile, back on the other side of the island, Dimitri tosses Dell Simon a wooden sparring sword after riling him up a bit to get a fight going. Dell wonders out loud, what kind of weirdo brings not one, but two weapons everywhere he goes. Dimitri replies that some of the best martial artists wield the dual sword combo, and considering I'm one of the best, it only makes sense. Dell points out the only reason he is going to fight him is because he's heard that he is the Class B leader and is moving up to Class A. Dell then states, "Let's see if you're worthy to join me in Class A." Dimitri would love nothing more. And just like that, they rush each other full speed. Dell slams his foot into the ground right before getting too close and causes Dimitri to mistime his attack and Dell to land a direct blow to the chest of Dimitri. Dell realizes that the majority of the blow was blocked by Dimitri's arms as Dimitri tells Dell that he is going to have to do better than that to walk away the winner. He then pushes Dell back as he swings his weapon. Dimitri sees an opening and lunges forward quickly as he lets off a slew of strikes. As Dell sees an oncoming heavy blow coming, he quickly evades to his right and uses his psychic gifts to leave a projection behind as a decoy. He gets behind Dimitri and swings his sword as Dimitri was barely able to dodge to attack. As Dimitri stumbles back, Dell dashes forward for a stabbing attack. Dimitri quickly leans his body back and strikes the sword out of Dell's grip as he pops back up to his feet. Seeing his opponent with no weapon, Dimitri goes in to finish this off with a powerful blow. Dell's eyes quickly glow as he uses his telekinesis to launch his fallen wooden sword into the back of Dimitri's head and knocking him out. Dell, looking down on Dimitri, gives him his praise for being a better weapons fighter than him, but the real weapon is our psychic power. Dell then wonders if Han Li is already stronger than Dimitri. Back to the campsite, our main character is screaming for the injured Jose to wake up. Jose opens his eyes and tells Han Li in a joking manner, "I'm right next to you, what are you yelling for?" As they set up a fire, our main character asks Jose if he saw who did this to him. Jose, with one side of his face completely swollen, tells the two that it was Carl and his gang of looters. Jose then advises that they should leave because there is a high chance the gang will return. Pissed off, Han Li screams out hell no. He then states, "They think they can beat up on a friend and rob us of our food? They got the wrong group." Jose is happy to know he's got a true friend in Ark. Han Li lays out the plan. "We're moving to a new place to lay our heads, and when night falls, we attack." Hours later, after the sun has set, our main character and Kuro stand on high ground and look down over the campsite where Carl and his gang have returned and made it home. In front of the cave stands two of the looters on watch duty. Han Li looks over to Kuro and lets him know that he believes in him and to fire off when ready. As the looters are bragging about their conquests and their might, Kuro thinks to himself that he is side by side with the only person who has ever shown him support and called him friend. He manifests his telekinesis and levitates all the stones surrounding him. And in a flash, Kuro sends the stones straight towards the gang member, causing them to scream on impact. Carl and the rest of the gang show up from inside the cave to see what is going on. They all realize the direction in which the stones were thrown from and rush in that direction, moving side to side in hopes of being a harder target. Kuro, using his power of foresight, is able to see where the gang members will be and launches the stones with speed and accuracy. Making his move, our main character jumps from behind the bushes and begins to lay the smack down on his foes as he launches one of them to fall right in front of their leader Carl. Han Li approaches with spear in hands as the two size each other up. Carl, realizing that it's our main character Han Li, he deduces that there is no way Han Li was able to defeat every one of his gang members alone. Our main character telling Carl that he is indeed correct, he tells Kuro to come out from behind the bushes. Carl stares, absolutely fuming that crybaby Kuro is one of the two that defeated his 6 gang members. Our main character tells Carl that they are here to get revenge for what they did to Jose. "We're going to punish you." Carl, reaching down for a weapon, tells Han Li to shut his mouth and bring it on. "I'll show you who runs this island." Han Li states, "Let's do this." Lunging wildly and telegraphing his attack, Carl swings his weapon with Han Li able to dodge it and return a counter-strike right across Carl's face. Carl is shocked. He pops back up and goes in for another swing just to have Han Li duck easily under it and delivering a hard blow to his body. Carl is starting to realize that Han Li is not just some scrub. Han Li begins to mock Carl as he is barely able to stand and letting him know it's eye for an eye over here. Unable to hold in his anger, Carl screams out for Han Li to shut his mouth as he takes a desperation swing. Unfortunately for Carl, our main character parries the strike and follows up with a three-piece combo that inevitably has Carl sliding across the ground. Face down in the ground and in disbelief as he thinks to himself, there is no way this orphan child is this strong. Han Li shames Carl for beating up on Jose considering he was already injured. Carl screams out for Han Li to not look down upon him. I am the one who looks down upon others. He tells Han Li about his life before Arkansas. How he was one of the most famous child actors in Germany. With his father becoming a powerful government official, their family status was at an all-time high. My father's thirst for power grew when he found out about my abilities, and our rise will not stop here with you beating me. After his statement, Carl launches dirt into the eyes of Han Li and follows up immediately with a punch, sending our main character into the dirt. As Kuro rushes over to help his friend as Carl is lifting Han Li off the ground, Carl looks over to Kuro and threatens him if he takes another step. Carl then throws a litany of gut punches on our main character as Kuro's temper is rising. With the tables turned and Carl looking down upon Han Li, Kuro witnesses Carl lifting his weapon as he tells our main character this is the first and last time you ever try something like this again. Shooting over is a stone that was blocked by Carl from Kuro as he tells Carl to back off of our main character. Carl approaches Kuro and in a bullying tone asks him if he is next in line for the beatdown. He grabs Kuro by the shirts and shames him for being a weakling and why Ark would even want him. Carl, not noticing that Han Li is standing right behind him, throws a haymaker and drops him hard into the ground with blood spewing out of his mouth. Our main character tells Carl how dare he call someone else useless. You need a gang to succeed and the likes of Dell, Dimitri, Jose and Kuro are all way stronger than you are alone. The words are cutting Carl deep as Han Li continues to let him know that your path to the top is difficult for someone as weak as you. You're trash bro, know that. As Han Li raises his spear to the defeated Carl, he stabs downward and to Carl's surprise he stabs the ground next to his face and lets him know, your way of being the best won't work, try something different, and never attack any of my friends again. With what just happened, Carl closes his eyes and thinks to himself in relief, Dad, this was never my dream in the first place. Carl left Ark right after. The next morning with Kuro and Han Li returning after their battle, life on the island for the next 3 days was considerably smoother. Finally, the final day has arrived with the rescue choppers returning for the first years. The three look up in relief that this survival training is finally coming to an end. The rest of the first years rush over to our main character, Kuro and Jose to thank them for all the fish they gave them to survive being on the island. Kuro asks Jose why he hides his ignition ability. Jose lets Kuro know that for him, his power is a nuisance. Jose then turns the attention to Han Li and states he was the mastermind behind everyone's survival here. Then everyone's watch beeps at the same time with a notification stating that they all have survived and passed their survival training. It's Sergeant Red's voice and probably the only time the first years will be happy to hear it. Sergeant Red then instructs everyone to board the choppers in the order he states. As the choppers set out to head back to Ark, Sergeant Red speaks to the first years that were with him and lets them know that they were being watched the whole time they were on the island. The instructors all came to the agreement that the 4 of you have proven to be the best. The Sarge explains that this whole week was not only about surviving but to see what kind of soldiers they will be as protectors of our species. The Sarge states, Kuro, Dell, Dimitri and Han Li have all been recommended to advance to second years. Finally back at Ark on a beautiful day, Jose walks up to Han Li's bunk and asks if he's up for a game of soccer. Han Li was bored reading anyways and takes him up on the offer. Today was a day off of training which is a rarity, and only occurs when important Ark events are scheduled. The boys are lined up on their respective sides ready for action, Dimitri tells Dell, and no powers. With Dell understanding Dimitri is still upset from being knocked out during their weapons battle. As they begin to play, an important meeting is taking place which is why they had a day off to begin with. The instructors in a conference room are there to discuss which of the first years are going to advance to second years. ARC's chief officer, Alexander Licor, at the head of the table, instructs for the meeting to begin. ARC's chief researcher, Dr. Sasha Grace, asks about the 4 first years that were recommended for advancement. Officer Licor points out that Dell and Dimitri have proven themselves beyond a reasonable doubt and are no-brainers. The other 2 is where the real conversation lies. First up, Han Li. He is one of the lowest-ranked first years in terms of his psychic ability. Officer Licor further states that our main character would still be in Class D if the Sergeant Red didn't offer him the challenge to fight him to move 2 classes up. Why should he advance? Asks Officer Licor. Han Li's favorite teacher, Instructor Chin, begins to state his case for Han Li to move up as he points out his battle with Sergeant Red and displayed great awareness and tenacity. He's got the right skill set to be a great soldier. Officer Licor looks to Sergeant Red to see if he agrees with Instructor Chin. The Sarge states that even though he is not ranked high in psychic potential, the telekinesis he develops since he has been training with Instructor Chin is really sophisticated, and he displayed it when we fought using the telekinesis to spin his spear faster. He was able to do that before he received any training. Meanwhile, on the soccer field, Han Li is bobbing and weaving and kicks the crap out of the soccer ball for a goal. Jose gives our main character praise for playing so well even though he never plays soccer. A real natural. On the other side of the field, Dimitri asks Dell, "Aren't people from your country supposed to be good at soccer?" Dell taking offense to the statement, asking Dimitri what does he mean by the question. Dimitri replies, "You just got schooled on the field and for a Brit, you suck at soccer, bro." Back in the conference room, Dr. Grace slams down a file containing Kuro's information. With his profile being projected for everyone to see, Dr. Grace suggests that Kuro is too much of a sweetheart to have the strong will to handle the growth serum he will be given if advanced to second year. The growth process will kill him. The Sarge defends Kuro and states that his growth of his psychic abilities in this short time is greater than any first-year arc has ever seen. He even has the ability of short-term foresight, which is a huge advantage. Officer Licor states it won't matter if he isn't strong enough mentally. The Sarge states, that is all the more reason for Han Li to move up as well. Han Li has been looking out for Kuro and giving him the confidence to grow as much as he has. Officer Licor is obviously annoyed by the fact that Han Li and Kuro are even being recommended for advancement, and wonders why Instructor Chen and Sergeant Red are pushing so hard for them. Back on the soccer field, our main character zips through dribbling the soccer ball with a perfectly timed pass to Jose through the defense. Jose, who has played soccer all his life, jukes his way through the opposition with the opposing goal nervously awaiting the shot attempt. Jose then sees everyone in place the way he envisioned the plan, passes the ball to an open Han Li as he kicks the ball into the back corner of the net for a goal. Our main character and Jose embrace as their game plan went just as planned. Interrupting their celebration, Sergeant Red pulls up and tells everyone to pay attention. He makes them aware that the meeting has come to an end and that the decisions of the advancement to second years have been made. Dimitri, Dell, Kuro, and Han Li. All 4 of you are moving up to second years. Han Li showing a bit of sadness on his face as Jose's name was not mentioned. Jose, with usual upbeat attitude, congratulates our main character and tells him to keep a seat warm for him as he will be moving up in no time. "Till we see again, brother," says Han Li to Jose. The Sarge instructs everyone to head back to their bunks and for the 4 who are advancing to pack their stuff. Han Li walks up to the Sarge to thank him for everything he has done for him, from offering him the opportunity to battle for class leader to recommending him to advance to second year. The Sarge lets our main character know to hold his thanks as the second years go through a lot, and some don't make it. "If you survive, we'll see each other again. Good luck, Han Li." Han Li salutes in respect as the Sarge walks away in hopes he sees Han Li again. As the sun is beginning to set, the 4 with their bags packed and waiting to head out, Dimitri is showing his excitement and can't wait to start his second year training. Han Li points out that they are supposed to head out to the medical wing of ARC, and that statement has Kuro's anxiety raised all the way up in fear. In usual fashion, Han Li comforts Kuro and lets him know that he is not alone in this. Kuro expressed that he is nervous about the surgical procedure to accelerate their growth to their adult bodies. Dimitri yells back to Kuro, "That's the best part." Dell asks why Dimitri is so excited. Dimitri replies that he cares only to become stronger, and this procedure will make it happen even quicker. The medical wing. Dr. Grace introduces herself and states that she will be working the floor for the next 5 weeks. Hanli questioning the 5 weeks portion of her intro, Dr. Grace clarifies that the process of maturing their bodies will take the complete 5 weeks. The first 2 weeks they will be submerged in the cultivation pods where the growth will occur. And the coming weeks after will be used to rehab and train your newly formed bodies. They all show a look of concern at the thought of them having to spend days in a pod. Our main character breaks the tension and puts his hand out forward and tells the boys, 2 weeks fellas and we'll meet back here. Dimitri and Kuro put their hands in with Dell, embarrassed at how lame they look. Dr. Gray sees the leadership that Sergeant Red is always raving about, and she can't help but to smile. The process starts immediately as the cultivation serum is administered to the boys in their cultivation pods. They all initially feel like they can't breathe and don't feel well, as that is common being in a pod to start off with. Dr. Grace tells the boys that the sedative will kick in and they will be sleeping throughout the whole surgery. As a week has passed and the cultivation serum has made its way through all of their bodies, it is time for the procedures to begin. One of Dr. Grace's colleagues advises for her to take a break as she has been working non-stop. Dr. Grace takes her advice and leaves the operating room to find Sergeant Red sitting in the waiting room. Dr. Grace questions the Sergeant's intentions, as he stated before he does not give a damn about these kids, and yet, he has been in the waiting room every day since they started their procedure. Sergeant Red jokingly states that he is there to make sure she does her job correctly. She brushes him off and states everything is going as planned and about to administer the second round of the serum. The second serum is made up from the dragon's psychic core known as the Dragon Heart. Sergeant Red knows that the Dragon Heart serum will allow for them to become more in tune with their psychic ability. He hopes this will further advance Han Li's psychic ability. Alert! Alert! Dr. Grace's watch goes off with an emergency alarm and causing her and Sergeant Red to run full speed back to the operating room. Han Li is beginning to wake up mid-procedure, which is brutal considering he will now feel the immense pain that comes with surgery. As Dr. Grace panics as she knows Han Li is in danger, she rushes to his pod to get him out of there and end his procedure. Before she can make the move, the Sarge grabs her arm as she looks at him in shock. He tells her that there is no turning back. Han Li must advance no matter what it takes. 1 week later. In Dr. Grace's office sits Han Li as Dr. Grace asks him how he has been feeling. Our main character, in his fully matured body, replies that he feels great, and it was all because of the doctor's work. Dr. Grace, showing concern, tells Han Li that he is the first psyker whose body rejected psychic abilities. She flashes back to a week prior as Han Li is in absolute agony. She yells to the Sarge if he continues the psychic cultivation portion of the procedure, he will die right there. The Sarge tells Dr. Grace to stop with the psychic cultivation and continue the rest of the operation. Han Li is strong enough to handle the pain, and we need him to move up. Flashing back to present day, Dr. Grace informs Han Li that his case will be treated differently since he has only upgraded his body and not his psychic ability. She asks our main character if he feels any discomfort physically or mentally. He jokingly states that he feels less stressed since now he can't be kicked out because of bad grades. Dr. Grace is thoroughly impressed and understands what the Sarge was talking about in terms of Han Li's vast willpower. She thinks to herself in confusion as psychic abilities are tied into one's willpower. So how is he so low graded with his psychic prowess? It has to do with his body rejecting his powers. Leaving the doctor's office, he is greeted by Dimitri in his fully developed form. Dell looking over with a straight face, Han Li looks over and jokingly states that the 5 weeks came and went by so quick. Han Li is surprised at how much everyone has changed. But none more than Kuro. He is now tall and strong with his all-white dreadlocks but still has his kind eyes. Dell showing his annoyance and how upbeat Han Li seems to be, he walks off while telling Han, just because you're now in the same class as me, does not mean you are the leader of anything. Dimitri jokes at Dell's expense, referring to him as the old grumpy fart now that he has matured from the operation. On the other side of ARC is the second-year facilities. The structure is different as the second years are split into squads and there are 12 squads total. Kuro and our main character are assigned to Squad 7 as they each get their own room. As they enter the training room, Kuro and Han-Lee are greeted by the leader Kato Suki. Kato and one of the other squad members have bandages and scratches on their faces. Kato, the leader of Squad 7, informs Kuro and Han-Lee that battle simulations, firearm training and air combat are the three most important things to learn as a second year. Kato tests Han-Lee and Kuro and asks if they know why firearm training is important as a psyker. Han-Lee answers and says that he knows that modern weapons won't hurt dragons but can do damage to their minions. The low-level minions are identified as werewolves, ogres and grunts. The higher intellect minions known as Elu serve in roles of authority like sergeants and lieutenants for the dragons. The Elu are also able to use psychic ability. Han-Lee asks if firearms are useless against the Elus since they are able to use psychic ability. Kato replies that the Elu can indeed block the attacks from firearms, but the difference between the Elu and the dragons is that the Elu's psychic energy is limited. Meaning once they use all of their energy, they are useless. Kato states that even though firearms training is necessary, both air combat and battle simulations are gold. Amongst all the 12 squads for second years, there are battle competitions held in the man-made forest within ARC. The most popular is Capture the Flag, testing the trainees' thought process and combat skills. Though technically a game, the swords they used are not sharpened but still made of hardened steel, which makes the game dangerous. In terms of the air combat training, the trainees practice fighting mid-air using air bits with the goal of knocking the opposing squad out of the air. Similar to a hoverboard, the trainees use the air bits to fight mid-air with another teammate called a supporter who uses their psychic ability to move the air bits with their teammates on it. Kato looks over to Kuro and states this will be the first time that Squad 7 has a high-level psyker to levitate the air bits for our team. Good thing you're here, Kuro. Kuro not showing the excitement that Kato was looking for, Kato asks Kuro if he's got a problem being their next supporter. As Kuro begins to stutter and talk quietly, the giant Squad 7 member standing behind the leader demands Kuro to speak up when he is spoken to. You are the next supporter for this squad. Han-Lee, as usual, sticks up for Kuro and lets the rest of Squad 7 know that Kuro is amazing. He further states that Kuro does not respond well to being yelled at, and before Han-Lee can say anything more, the giant squad member shifts his attention from Kuro to Han-Lee and tells him to shut the hell up and stay in your place. The leader of Squad 7, Kato, tells his giant team member to relax as the two new guys are just day 1 guys here. Kato then tells Han that even though they are all second years, they have gained a considerable amount of experience, so it's best if you show some respect. Kato further states, the only reason why our main character was accepted into Squad 7 was because he wanted Kuro. The scouting report states that Kuro works best with you. Your low-rank psychic ability alone would have never got you into our squad, just know that. As all of the members of Squad 7 laugh at our main character, Han-Lee balls his fist up and swallows his pride. Han-Lee then states, you're right, Kato, I will do as I am told. He extends his hand out as a sign of respect and throws off Kato as they shake each other's hand. Almost speaking with their eyes, Kato looks at our main character and thinks, you cocky tool, you won't make it here for long. Han-Lee, also seemingly speaking with his eyes, thinks, I'm ready for whatever you got, so bring it. Later on that night, as our main character begins to shower up, he recaps his day of training. Showing real talent with his assault rifle and his maneuverability, Han-Lee excelled at weapons training and feels there is no way Kato can think so lowly of him with what he just displayed. He turns to look at Kato as he is screaming at Kuro, demanding he pull himself together and do the damn drill. Han-Lee can see the Squad 7 leader Kato visibly upset at what he is seeing from Kuro. As our main character flashes back to the present, he questions himself and asks if he is even worthy of being a second year. The next morning in the locker rooms, Han-Lee is told by Kato that he will be on the bench today for the battle simulations. Considering our squad has a lot of weapons and combat specialists like yourself, it's no real point to have you out there. Sorry, buddy. Han Li remembers the picture of the orphans being taken care of because of his commitment to Ark and reminds himself to not do anything to get him kicked out. In the training arena, the voice from the speakerphones announced today's battle simulation will be between Squads 3 and 9. Kato and his giant teammate chat about how Squad 3 has a new member, and watching this battle will show them some light into their game plan. Han Li overhears the two and knows the new member of Squad 3 is none other than Dell Simon. On the screen where everyone in the training arena can see is Dell, and the chatters about him are clear. His reputation as the last psychic prodigy from England precedes him. Some look in awe and some see a tool bag, but they all respect his power. On the battlefield in the forest, Squad 9 dressed as the blue team call out Squad 3 and accuse them of being scared and to bring on the battle. The leader of Squad 3, as cocky as he can be, gloats about the new addition to his team with the high-ranked psyker Dell now on his team. Dell flexes his psychic ability, as the blue team panics, and rushes towards him before he can attack. They take one step and realize that their weapons are no longer in their hands as Dell displays his telekinesis and has their weapons floating above them. Before they can fully understand what happened, Dell uses his power and sends their weapons from the sky, straight down upon the blue team, leaving them defenseless. The leader of Squad 3 commands for the rest of his team to attack the beaten-down opponent, as they all rush in with Dell standing back and watching his team kick the crap out of their opponents and claim victory. Back at the training arena, Kato tells Kuro that he envisions the same strategy Squad 3 used with Dell. You, Kuro, will be our high-level psyker, and we will win the exact same way. Kuro not showing too much confidence, our main character stands to tell Kato that using the same strategy is not the best idea. Squad 3 with Dell on it only relied on Dell's power, and had no real strategy. They did not take advantage of the landscape or have any real plans of attack outside of a plan A. Showing his frustration, the Squad 7 leader Kato questions Han Li and asks if he is trying to rule over him. Han Li gets it now. He knows that Kato does not like him because he has tested his leadership twice now. Kato also is aware that Han Li's scouting report has high grades on his leadership. Someone is jealous. The giant team member from Squad 7 signals for Han Li to follow him. Once alone, the giant second year tells Han Li that he really is talented. So talented that even Kato has noticed, and that is why you should no longer be in our squad. We have already spoken about it, and the other members of Squad 7 agree. I'm talented so I don't belong? I don't get it, says Han Li. The giant second year states that Han Li has not shown any fear in objecting bad game plans throughout his time here. There are times you make better game plans than our squad leader, but the truth of the matter is that there is only room for one leader. We cannot afford a divide within our squad. And considering that Kato is the leader, he will make sure you never get the chance to compete in any battle simulations. My advice to you, Han Li, ask to be moved to a different squad. As the giant second year walks away, Han Li takes a second to digest the information he was just given. He understands the politics involved and weighs his option to transfer. Later on that evening, Han Li heads into Instructor Chen's office and submits his request to transfer squads. Instructor Chen, taken back from the request, asks Han Li if this is something he really wants to go through with, and our main character confirms his decision. Showing some disappointment, Instructor Chen informs Han Li that a meeting will have to take place for this request to be discussed, so it might take a bit before any decision is made. Han Li, knowing that it will take a while before he gets an answer, he decides that he will take the time up until the transfer request is complete to focus on developing himself, as he won't have any opportunities with the squad to train with them. Han Li hears a couple knocks on the door as Kuro steps in. Happy to see each other, Kuro asks Han Li what exactly was he and Kato speaking about earlier. Han Li brushes off the question and asks Kuro if he feels ready for the air combat training tomorrow. Kuro informs Han Li that he is able to levitate and move 4 air bits at once with the squad members on them. Han Li, completely impressed that Kuro's psychic abilities continue to grow at a rapid pace, he states that Kuro might be the most powerful of all the second years. Our main character further states that he will be rooting for Kuro from the sideline as he knows Kuro will do great. Kuro is always grateful that he has our main character to always support him. The next day, another squad battle is set with the gossip of the new high-level psyker participating in his first battle. Kuro's reputation for his power level is getting around and the other squads want to see what he can do, including our main character. The stage is set with both teams on their respective platforms and Kato looking over at Kuro, letting him know Squad 7 is counting on him. Pressure's on Kuro. Everyone is staring at the giant screen as the air combat match between Squad 1 and Squad 7 is set to begin. As a quick presentation of the air bits are displayed on the screen for the new second years, it explains how the air bits are used as drones controlled by a supporter with great psychic ability. Typically there are 2 supporters who each control 2 airbits during the air combat battles. Han Li thinks to himself that Kuro should be great considering he is powerful enough to control 4 airbits at once, but there is a look of concern on Han Li's face as he looks on. Kato orders for the squad to get in their positions. He vows for his plan to be foolproof. Squad 1 donning the red uniforms, fly in to attack. The giant Squad 7 member notices the opposing squad all moving forward together exactly like Kato predicted. Yet at the last second, Squad 1 splits up going in multiple directions. The giant second year manages to catch a red team member mid-air and knocks him out into elimination. Kato on the other side does the same, sending another red team member out of the match. The crowd is going crazy as there are murmurs of Squad 7 being surprisingly strong considering it did not look like they knew where Squad 1 was going once they split up. Flashing back to before the battle, Kato goes over the game plan with Squad 7. He mentions that Squad 1 does not have any strong supporters, which means the psychers on the airbits are using some of their own power to levitate the board and are not fighting at full strength because of it. Considering Kuro can control 4 airbits at once, all the psychers on the airbits will be able to fight at full strength and having the advantage. Not to mention that Kuro has the foresight ability and can move the squad members to the best spot to land attacks. The giant second year shows his support in the game plan as it seems to be perfect. Back to the present, Han Li looks on to the battle as he acknowledges that Kato's plan is working, at least for now. With the blue team confident in their strategy, Kuro is getting winded not only from the strain of levitating the boards while using his foresight to predict where his opponent's next move will be, but also from the anxiety of the responsibility to keep everyone safe and victorious. There is so much information that Kuro has to take in. As Kuro mismanages one of the boards and allows for the red team to land a blow, the 2 remaining members of the red team realize that Squad 7, the blue team, still has all their members. They switch to another plan they have up their sleeves. As the 2 red team members lunge forward in unison, the smaller of the 2 leaps above the blue team as the other red team member, who is massive in size, grabs a hold of Kato and another blue squad member. Locked in a tight grip and unable to move, they look back to see the other red team member display some stunning speed, getting past the last 2 blue team members as they see him rushing towards Kuro. The Squad 7 leader Kato yells for the other members to forget about the speedy red team guy and help him get out of this guy's grip. Han Li sees the fatal flaw in Kato's demand as he should have Kuro better protected considering he is the one controlling all the air bits. Han Li remembers back to when Kato told Kuro to always have 2 of the Squad 7 members on his side, and now he is going against his own game plan. The speedy red team member knocks out the other 2 blue team members and raises his weapon to strike Kuro. As Kato misused his team's resources and having 3 blue teamers against 1 opponent, he turns back and realizes that Kuro was left alone. Kuro, out cold from the strike at the hands of the red team. The remaining red team member smirks as he has just claimed Squad 1 a victory. As the crowd is aware of the poor game plan Squad 7 employed, most recognize that Kuro is supremely gifted but was defeated at the hands of a poor strategy. Our main character, staring at his friend laid out, he predicted that this was going to be the outcome. He knew that Kato literally had one plan and no backup options. He didn't have the sense to think what would happen if Kuro is met face to face with a striker, as he is levitating 4 blue team members. He didn't think what would happen if Kuro is no longer able to hold everyone up because he is attacked. He even called on one of Kuro's blockers to help him, leaving Kuro completely alone. As the announcement of Squad 1 defeating Squad 7, Han Li angrily thinks to himself that he would have never made such lazy and stupid decisions if he was the leader of this squad. 3 weeks later, Instructor Chen calls Han Li back into his office in regard to the paperwork he submitted for a transfer. The instructor tells Han Li that it has been accepted. But in a twist, along with being transferred out of Squad 7, Han Li also put in a request for the ability to start a new squad, which was also approved. Shocked that his requests were passed through, Instructor Chen informs Han Li that because he has always graded the highest in terms of leadership ability, the board has decided to give him a shot with his own squad. They actually want to see what he's got to offer. Instructor Chen passes the conditions over to Han Li that must be met in order to form a new squad. First, there must be a minimum of 4 squad members, including yourself. Second, the new squad leader is able to recruit only one person from each squad, if the person they choose also agrees to join the squad. Han realizes that he will be seen as a foe from all the other leaders, considering he is able to poach a member of their teams. Our main character relishes the opportunity to prove the board right for allowing him to start his own squad. As he steps out of Instructor Chen's office, Han Li takes a second to think of who he wants to recruit. The first 2 obviously are his best friends Kuro and Jose. He then thinks to himself, damn it! As he forgot Jose is not a second year yet. He decides he will reach out to Kuro. But then it hits him, he does have another great option to reach out to. We find our main character knocking on a door, and would you know it, the person who opens the door is former Class B leader and good friend, Dimitri.